Hi, this is Sam Miller with SportsNetworker.com, and I'm here tonight with Travis LoDolce. And Travis is the Senior Manager of Digital Marketing with the Oakland A's. Travis, thanks so much for coming on this Skype call with me. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
So, I guess the first question is, how'd you get in this gig?
This is actually my 11th season with the A's. I started shortly before the 2002 season, and I sort of happened into baseball by random chance. I went to University of Santa Barbara, didn't study sports or journalism or marketing or anything of that kind. But when I got out of school in 2000, I decided I really wanted to work for a Major League Baseball team, and this was my hometown team. And I thought nothing would be better than going to a ballpark every day. So I sort of worked a couple odd jobs, and then before the 2002 season, I had a very fringe connection to the front office, and one gentleman shared a few emails with me, sent in my resume, and was able to get a job out of it. So I worked part-time throughout the 2002 season in the ticket operations, ticket services office, assisting season ticket holders with exchanging tickets and upgrading their tickets and ticket issues and things of that nature. But that was only part-time on game days. That same season, I worked for the San Francisco Giants across the bay on their game days as the suite concierge on their suite level. And after the 2002 season, which was a great season for both teams, the A's won 20 consecutive games.
Right.
The Giants went to the World Series. After that season, the A's hired me on full time. They had an opening. So I started in the ticket operations department as a ticket services representative, and then worked my way up from there.
I guess this wasn't really on the sheet, but since you started when you did, what was it like seeing Moneyball? I guess first the book and now Brad Pitt, the movie come out.
It's funny because I worked every single game in 2002, except for one game. There was one crossover game between the A's and the Giants, so I worked for the Giants. And when I originally looked at the schedule, I looked at it and went, "Oh, that game and midweek game on a Wednesday night against the Royals. Yeah, nobody will go to that game, so I can easily miss that one." And that ended up being the 20th consecutive win. But leading up to it, it was just so fantastic during the 20-game win streak. And then years later, to hear rumors about the movie possibly being made, and then starting with Steven Soderbergh, and then stopping, and then being remade with Ben and Miller, seeing Brad Pitt walking around the offices, and seeing some of the filming go on here, and actually sitting in the stands watching the movie be filmed was surreal because they had players that resembled the guys out in the field wearing the same jerseys, but really their body types didn't look the same. And you're basically reliving moments of your life, in front of you 10 years later, almost 10 years later. And then when the movie finally came out, it was a lot of fun. We got to see a pre-screening about a month before. Michael Lewis, the author of the book, was there. Billy Beane was there. The whole front office was there. We rented out a small theater, and we watched it, and it was great. And then we all went to the premiere in Oakland as well with all the actors from the movie and a bunch of the former players. And that made it even better because that night we got to share the moment with our families and stuff. So it was surreal from beginning to end. But it's a pretty proud thing to look at it and see it not only on the field, but now be able to share it. I have family members that have never had much interest or really known about what I do or what team I even work for. But
Right.
once they saw the movie, they were asking me all sorts of questions. Isn't that the team that you work for? Do you know that Billy Beane guy? So it's pretty funny.
Okay, so I guess the funny follow-up question that I gotta ask: if somebody played you in a movie, who would it be?
Uh, I guess it'd have to be somebody young, right? Andrew Garfield is about to be Spider-Man, so let's say Andrew Garfield. How about that?
Haha,
So
fair
most
enough.
I get John Stamos.
Haha, fair enough. That's great. Yeah, Uncle Jesse. What's it like being around Billy Beane?
I'm not really around him that much, to be honest. I mean, he certainly walks through the hallways and If I go down and work out in the workout room, he'll sometimes be down there. Always very friendly, always really nice. But as far as a working level, I don't really have much of a connection.
What's the A's social media strategy?
To build up, for a long time, it's been to build up our followers. We're probably in the bottom third of followers on Twitter and on Facebook. But we wanted to really expand that by engaging them. And it's grown exponentially in the last year, I'd say. Major League Baseball teams in general were maybe a year or two behind getting into Twitter and Facebook full bore. But now we have, it's been fantastic. I mean, MLB.com or MLB's Twitter handle is one of the largest, I believe. We're at about 51,000 Twitter followers, a little over 300,000 Facebook followers. We try to engage with them on a daily basis and make it an interesting collaboration with them. We post things like lineup cards. We post things, updates during games, wins and losses, things like that. But we love to do extra gifts when we can. We'll sometimes watch if somebody is coming to a game that night. We'll try to find out their seats and just bring them a little gift in the seats. We're always trying to think of something different to get people involved and retweeting us and interacting with us in some way. In December, we ran a promotion called 31 Gifts in 31 Days. And basically we took, it's a big gift-giving month, obviously, and we took every day that month, had a different gift that month, and every day at 11 a.m., we'd tweet out something, some sort of engagement where people could tweet us back. And one of those winners, if there were a certain number, would win that prize. And it was things like a flip cam. It was batting practice visits, in the radio booth, different stuff like that. So we're planning right now for something for the 20-game win streak that'll coincide with the 10-year anniversary of the 20 games, doing something every day of a similar nature. So it's really to engage with our fans. We've got, like most sports teams, we've got a very loyal fan base and a very interested and engaged fan base, and we just need to make sure that we're engaged with them back and showing the appreciation.
Now, it seems like I've talked to several other MLB teams, and they're kind of a one-man or one-woman show, obviously with people supporting them, but kind of a one-man or one-woman show ultimately. You have, you're a manager, correct? And then there's a senior director in the same kind of capacity?
Correct. He's my boss, right.
So what are your responsibilities and what are kind of his responsibilities?
My responsibilities are to basically, I'm the Major League Baseball advanced media day-to-day contact. So I'm engaged with MLBAM day-to-day with our marketing producer.
Right.
If people aren't familiar with how teams are constructed, we work very closely with Major League Baseball, all the teams do, to oversee the website and oversee basically anything that we have online, mobile, and things like that. So if there's a page that needs to be built on our website, if there's content that needs to be changed, we're interacting with them to change it. Luckily, things like articles, game updates, we don't have to worry about that. They handle that. They have writers and folks that handle that. But from a sales perspective, we're very involved with them. So basically, I'm overseeing the website, making sure that portions of it are okay and up to date, and changing things out and keeping things relevant. Putting together email blasts with Major League Baseball, weekly blasts that we have. Targeted blasts. If you've come to a fireworks game, we may re-engage you with another fireworks game or something along those lines. And then overseeing portions of social media as well. But luckily, I'm not just a one-person operation. We do have somebody that is very involved, our marketing manager, with the day-to-day operations of Facebook and Twitter. And the other social media that we have. And then PR is very involved as well, which is fantastic. So there's a core group of about 4 or 5 folks that are engaged on social media here at the A's.
So how do you coordinate efforts so you're not doing the same things or
overlapping?
Yeah, you're kind of touching all the bases, so to speak.
We have weekly or biweekly meetings. We have what we call a social media committee, and it's a group of 4 or 5 of us, and we sit down and we sort of plan out sort of the larger aspects of it. Things that have come out of that have been tweet ups. We've had a couple tweet ups. We just had one recently. Some of the larger efforts as far as engaging with their fans, like contests and promotions. And then we have assignments. There's a person in PR that tweets during games. The general emails come, or general tweets and Facebook updates come from either Major League Baseball or our marketing manager. So we try not to step on our toes too much. We communicate pretty much on a daily basis to make sure that we don't.
So, as you mentioned, I mean, there's a lot of baseball to be had in California. How, what can set the A's apart, or make them successful in maybe let's say maybe this Moneyball draws some people in that were kind of on the fringe before. They're like, hey, I want to start following the Oakland A's. So how do you make the A's stand out in the Bay Area and in the state of California?
We from a ballpark perspective, we offer a great family atmosphere, and we try to do the same online. Try to come up with unique and innovative promotions and events to draw people to the ballpark. We just had a Father's Day catch, for instance. On Father's Day, fans could buy an extra ticket in addition to their ticket, and after the game, come down onto the field and play catch with their kid. This coming Monday, we're having an event called A's Anthem All Stars, where people sent in their anthem audition tapes, and we're going to take a group of folks down onto the field. They're going to sing the anthem in succession, and we're going to pick one person to sing the national anthem before that night's game. So it's just engaging and always responding to fans as well. If a fan has a question, or if a fan has a concern, or if a fan just writes in a thank you letter, it's getting back to them right away. It's just being open and available and having some transparency. We have what we call AFAC, which is the A's Fan Advisory Committee, and that's one of my responsibilities, is to partially oversee that committee. And it's a group of A's season ticket holders who have an invested interest in the team, come to a lot of games, and they sit down with us about every 6 weeks during the season. And we ask them, how's it going? Are you enjoying the experience? How are the front gates? Are the ushers conversing with you? What do you think of our marketing efforts? What do you think of this commercial? And we give them things to look at and things to look for, and they report back to us on whether we're doing a good job and what maybe we can change, or what they're hearing when they're sitting in their seats. So it's making sure that the fan experience can be top notch and everything that it can be.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, what was I? For one, what are some skills that you've had to use in your job consistently?
Great question.
And if you want, we can come back to it.
No. My job has changed so much over time. Starting in the ticket operations department, it was very fan-oriented on an individual basis. So talking with season ticket holders all day, picking up the phone and engaging with them, seeing them in person, and not only season ticket holders, but just individual game ticket holders, and really getting to know what their interests are and what they're looking for and what to expect from them, what kind of questions people will have when you put a certain game on sale, or when the sky's a little cloudy and rain's falling, you're going to get a lot of rain out calls that day. So if you can, so now, for instance, I'll if it's raining a little bit, I'll pre-plan a rain out email or something along those lines. But really just getting to know early on our fan base and what fans expect. And then as I've moved into marketing over the last number of years, taking that initial information on an individual level and trying to apply it to everything that we do online. What are fans going to be interested in? When I'm building or writing a copy for a web page, what kind of questions are people going to ask? Should the page have an FAQ area? that kind of stuff. And then one skill that's come in really handy that I have is one of my hobbies is photography, and I've loved taking photos for a number of years. And one of the great things about the A's is that, and the managers that I've had, is that they've really let me kind of spread my wings in a lot of areas. And if something interests me, they'll let me go for it. And I've taken a lot of photos for the team. I'm not the team photographer, but I'll take photos here and there, and they've been used on social media, and they're all over the website now. Some of them you might be able to see behind me. And this last year, I actually got to go, or earlier this year, I got to go to Japan as the team photographer.
Oh, wow.
To open the season there. So it was a lot of fun. I was doing social media from there and in photos during games.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit more about that experience going to Japan. I mean, what did you take away from that? Maybe how they do baseball, or how the fans engage with baseball versus the fans here, or...
Well, I'll first tell you, if you had told me maybe 10, 20 years ago that I would be riding on the team plane to Japan to take photos for the team for the opening game, I would have laughed in your face. I never would have believed it. So it was something of a dream come true. But going over there was great. We played a couple Japanese teams in exhibition games before we ended up playing the Mariners. Mm-hmm. It was funny between innings. Every half inning, it was a little bit different. When the A's were on the field, the crowds were very loud and drumming and singing songs and chanting. And then when the Japanese teams were at bat, it was very quiet, so the team could concentrate. So it was interesting to see the difference in baseball. Here, usually when the home team's at bat, everybody's yelling and screaming for their team, trying to get their team energized. So it was different. But as far as the country and actually seeing portions of Tokyo, it was fantastic. Everybody's so friendly there. We just had a very warm welcoming. It was great.
Getting back to the A's fan experience, and actually the question that I had before and momentarily slipped my mind. Tell me, are you involved with the? I saw on the A's website there's like my A's story or something like that.
Yeah. That was that was something that my boss, Troy Smith, he dreamt that up this off season, and it's something that we've been running in games. A few years ago, we brought on an in-game host. Her name's Cara, and she's done a fantastic job engaging fans in stadium, going around with a camera crew and in between innings, interviewing different people with different stories, and she's great talking to our fans. She's a fan herself. She's a former season ticket holder. So through her engagement with fans, it just sort of came to be that with this rich history of over 40 years of baseball in Oakland and World Series wins and just memory after memory, what better way than to let fans tell their own story. So Troy this offseason sat down with a number of A's employees, and we got to tell our own A's stories, our most memorable moment, either working here or being a fan or both. And then we've been doing the same with fans as well. So what you saw online is fans can write in a memory. It comes into us. We look through it, and if they're local and they're maybe coming to a game, and if it's something that is very unique in some way or just a really touching memory, we'll invite them to a game, and when they're here, we'll record that memory. And then you either end up online or in stadium playing in between innings.
Mm-hmm. A couple last questions for you. What lessons have you learned that you'd pass on to maybe especially budding people in sports media like myself, or what advice would you give us?
Can't stress enough to be involved and to try anything. It's hard to get your foot in the door, and I've seen that a lot. One of my old responsibilities was to oversee spring training operations in Phoenix, and we had a number of interns and part-time folks come through, and there were a lot of really great young people that I worked with, and some of them have gotten into sports, and some of them had a really difficult time to get in. I think a lot of that is just luck, being in the right place at the right time. But if you can get in somewhere, be confident, don't be cocky. There's definitely a difference, but the willingness to do whatever is asked of you is phenomenal, and people will pick up on that, and showing interest in it as well. If you know somebody, or if you see somebody at a place where you're working and you're interested in what they do, feel free to talk to them about it and engage them. If somebody leaves and you're in a position where maybe you could take over a portion of your job, the worst thing that you could do is, or the best thing that you could do is to ask to try to take over that position, or portions of it. And knowing what people do around you will put you in that position to be able to do that. Working in ticket operations, from my own experience, when a former marketing manager left, I had already been helping him and dabbling on portions of the website. So when he left, I got to take on a larger portion of that. The reason why I got to work down in spring training is because a couple people had left and they were previously doing that job, and I walked into my boss's office and asked him, "Would you mind if I work on this? I'm willing to help in any way that you need." And he ended up giving me the lion's share of work. And I'd also say that if you're lucky enough to meet somebody that you really respect, and somebody that can kind of mentor you, that's a positive thing. I've been fortunate when I was in the ticket department to work with Steve Finelli, and now he's the senior director of sales and operations for tickets here at the A's. I've been here for about 15 years, so he certainly predates me. But he has been phenomenal in helping me and letting me work in a number of different areas and avenues. And he's been really supportive, and just trying to pick his brain and get information from him has been a really great thing.
It seems like, I'm just thinking, it seems like most people move around a whole lot, especially early on in their careers, and you've been with the A's for a while. I mean, why, or what's that been like? Or it seems like you're a little unique in that regard.
Yeah, I'd say so. Not only in sports, but just friends of mine, they say they couldn't imagine being anywhere for 11 years. I think it's great to work here. It's a great company. It's a lot of fun. The fans are fantastic. The team has always been good. And I mean, I have a personal interest in the team because it is one of the teams that I grew up really enjoying. So it makes it even more fun for me.
Right.
If I was working for another team in another city that I didn't grow up watching and quite knew the same history, it might be a little bit different. But I was also lucky enough to work with Steve Finelli and to work with somebody else in the ticket operations department named Josh Ziegenbusch. And these are folks that the collaborative effort that we had just worked really well and still works really well. And the folks that I work with now in the marketing department as well, it's just easy to get along with people. And if you have that type of situation, you don't really want to leave it too quickly.